No one warned me. Not my mother. Not the elders. Not even the silence of the road. They say the market appears only at midnight. But what they don't tell you is that it appears for a reason. The first time I heard the bell, it was faint, distant, almost polite. A single cling, then another slow, deliberate, like something counting. At exactly 12, the air changed, not colder, no heavier, as if the night itself leaned closer to listen. I was walking home late, my lantern flickering like it was afraid. The road I knew since childhood stretched ahead, then quietly bent away. Where there should have been trees, there were stalls. Where there should have been darkness, there were lamps, old oil lamps burning without smoke. People stood there, too still. Men, women, shapes wrapped in cloth and shadow. No laughter, no shouting. A market without noise is not a market meant for the living. A sign hung crooked above the first stall, written in symbols I couldn't read, yet somehow I understood. Pay before you leave. My feet moved before my mind agreed. The bell rang again, closer now. And that was when I realized something was wrong. No one was selling food. No one was selling clothes. They were selling things you don't usually survive buying. The first stall sold memories. Not stories. Not photographs. Memories, folded neatly in clay bowls like dried leaves. A woman stood there, her eyes empty but smiling. She pushed a bowl forward and said nothing. When the man beside me reached for it, his hand trembled. "I want to forget," he whispered. The seller nodded. No bargaining, no questions. He paid with a single strand of hair plucked from his own head. And the moment it touched the bowl, his shoulders relaxed. Too relaxed. He smiled, wide, foolish, and walked away without looking back. I tried to remember his face. Couldn't. The next stall sold luck. Good harvests, safe journeys, healthy children. Each promise spoken softly, lovingly, like lies told by someone who means them. But the prices were wrong. One seller asked for a shadow. Another asked for the sound of your laughter. One asked for 3 years. Not now, later. I wanted to leave. Truly, I did. But the road behind me was gone. In its place stood a narrow path of red dust. And at the end of it, a gate I hadn't noticed before. A voice drifted from nowhere. Everywhere. Everyone pays, eventually. And then, someone called my name. He stood near the gate, untouched by the lantern light. I recognized him. Or rather, I recognized who he used to be. Ease. The same Ease who was old when my grandfather was young. The same Ease whose face never changed. Whose back never bent. They said he was blessed. They said the spirits favored him. He smiled at me, slowly, knowingly. "So," he said, "you found it too." I asked him how long he had been coming. He paused, counted silently, then shrugged. "I stopped counting after my 3rd lifetime." My stomach tightened. He explained it calmly, almost kindly. "The market does not steal from you all at once. That would scare people. Instead, it lets you borrow years, strength, fortune. And when the debt is due, collects, quietly. Can you stop coming?" I asked. He's laughed. Not loudly, not cruelly. "Why would I?" he said. "I still have years left, stored." Stored. He pointed to the gate. "Once you buy, the market remembers you. And once it remembers you, it will open for you, anywhere." The bell rang again. A child ran past us, barefoot, breathless, crying. No one stopped him. No one helped. I watched him reach a stall selling voices. He grabbed one without paying. The market went silent. Every lantern dimmed. The sellers turned. All at once. A rule had been broken. The ground beneath the boy cracked, softly, like dry skin. Hands, dark, thin, patient, rose just enough to hold his ankles. He screamed. Then the sound was gone. Not swallowed. Removed. The sellers reset their stalls. The lanterns brightened. The market breathed again. He's leaned closer to me. "Never steal," he said. and never stay until the final bell. I asked him what happens then. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped back and vanished into the crowd. The gate creaked open. A seller turned to me, eyes like wet clay. "What do you wish to buy?" she asked. Behind her, I saw something with my own name written on it. It was not a bowl, not a charm. It was a ledger, old, cracked, breathing faintly as if alive. My name was written there, not in ink, but in something that pulsed, slowly, like a heartbeat. "I haven't bought anything," I said. The seller smiled. "No," she replied gently. "But you will." The bell rang once. The gate began to close. I felt it then, a sudden lightness, as if something inside me had already been weighed, measured. The seller leaned closer. "The market does not ask if you will pay," she whispered. "Only when." I tried to step back, but the red dust clung to my feet. The ledger opened by itself, and beside my name, a space waited for the price. The seller did not rush me. That was the worst part. She waited, as if she already knew the answer. Around us, the market continued. Quiet footsteps, soft murmurs, the sound of people trading pieces of themselves and pretending not to notice. "I don't understand what I'm paying for," I said. She tilted her head. "No one ever does," she replied. "That's why it works." She slid the ledger closer. The pages turned on their own, stopping at my name. Beneath it, words formed slowly. "One night, not now." My throat tightened. "One night of what?" I asked. The seller's smile thinned. "One night when the market calls," she said. "One night when you cannot refuse." That was all. I wanted to laugh, to tell her it meant nothing. But somewhere, deep inside, something shifted, like a door quietly unlocking. The seller reached out and pressed her thumb against my chest. I felt it then, a tug, a lightness, as if a thread had been pulled from my body. Not enough to hurt, but enough to notice. The ledger snapped shut. "It is done," she said. The bell rang. Once, the gate reopened. And just like that, the market began to fade. Morning came too easily. Birds sang. People walked the road. The world behaved like nothing had happened. That frightened me more than the market itself. I checked my reflection in water. Still there. I counted my fingers, my breaths, my steps. Everything seemed normal. Until I spoke. My voice sounded different. Not weaker, but thinner, as if something important had been removed. Quietly, politely. I tried to remember the man who bought memories. Couldn't. I tried to remember the child who screamed. Nothing. That was when I understood. The market does not only take what you give it. Takes what helps you question it. I went to find Ease. His compound stood where it always had, but it was empty, dusty, abandoned. A neighbor told me Ease had left years ago. Years. I had spoken to him only hours earlier. That night, as I slept, I heard the bell. Not outside. Inside. Soft, patient. Waiting. I began to notice them after that. People who didn't age. People who never moved away. Never died. Never seemed fully present. They watched roads. Markets. Crossroads. Always listening. I followed one at dusk. He walked confidently, until the light began to fade. Then he slowed. The sun set. The road bent. Just slightly. I felt it again. That pull inside my chest. The market was opening somewhere else. The man turned. His eyes widened when he saw me. "You're marked," he said. I asked him what happens if I don't return. He looked away. "Everyone tries once," he replied. "And," I pressed, "and the market still collects." He leaned closer. "Some of us are still paying." Before I could ask more, the bell rang, and he ran. I found the rule carved into stone, half buried near an old shrine. Not written plainly, not meant to be read easily. But I understood it. You may leave the market, but you may not ignore it. That night I dreamed of the ledger. New names filled its pages. Old names faded. Some were crossed out. Some were circled. Mine had moved. The space beside it was no longer empty. Something had been written there, blurred, unfinished, waiting. I woke up sweating. The bell rang again. Closer. Louder. This time, it was calling me. I tried to stay awake. I drank bitter herbs. Walked until my feet burned. Sat beneath bright lamps. Midnight came anyway. The air thickened. The road shifted. And without taking a single step, I was there again. The market. But it was different. More crowded. More urgent. The sellers moved faster. The buyers looked desperate. And hanging above the central stall, larger than before, was a sign I hadn't seen. Final collection. The seller from before turned toward me. The ledger opened. She pointed to the price beside my name. And finally, I could read it. I screamed, and the bell rang. The word final echoed longer than the bell. Final collection. The sign read, yet the market was very much alive. Lanterns burned brighter. Stalls multiplied. The air pulsed, impatient. I stepped closer to the ledger. The seller did not stop me. "That word doesn't mean what you think," she said calmly. "It never does." I asked her if final collection meant death. She smiled, almost kindly. "Sometimes," she replied. "Sometimes it means replacement." Replacement. Around us, buyers argued quietly. Some begged. Some laughed too hard. A woman clutched a bundle wrapped in cloth, rocking it as if it were a child. A man counted invisible coins with shaking fingers. And then I noticed something else. Some stalls were closing. Not fading. Closing. Their sellers stood beside them, waiting, watching, like people who had finished working, and were now ready to leave. I pointed at them. "Where are they going?" I asked. The seller followed my gaze. "Home," she said. My stomach dropped. "What about the rest?" I asked. She closed the ledger gently. "They stay," she replied. I recognized one of them. A woman standing near the edge of the market, her face half hidden beneath a veil. She looked exactly like my aunt. The same scar on her cheek. The same posture. The same eyes. Too sharp for someone who had been buried 10 years ago. I called her name. She flinched. Slowly, she turned. And in that moment, I knew. This was not a spirit pretending to be her. This was her. But altered. "Don't say my name," she whispered. I asked her why she was there. She laughed bitterly. "I stayed past the final bell," she said. "I thought I could negotiate." She showed me her hands. They were clean. Too clean. "I don't age anymore," she continued. "But I don't leave either." I asked her if she wanted to escape. Her smile faded. "There are worse things than staying," she said. Behind her, the bell rang once, and several sellers turned their heads toward me. The seller returned. She stood closer now. Too close. "You are asking the wrong questions," she said. I asked her what the market truly was. She paused. Just long enough. "The market is not a place," she said carefully. "It is a balance." I pressed further. She raised a finger. "One answer," she warned. I asked her why my name had been written long before I arrived. Her eyes darkened. "Because someone paid with you," she said. The words struck harder than any blow. "Who?" I demanded. She shook her head. "That would be the truth," she replied. "And you are not ready for it." The ledger trembled. The bell rang twice. The crowd began to thin. And for the first time, I felt fear from the sellers themselves. People ran. Not all of them, only those who still could. Stalls vanished mid-transaction. Lanterns dimmed unevenly. The market was shrinking. The seller grabbed my wrist. Her grip was cold. "It is time," she said. "For what?" I asked. She pulled me toward the central stall. The ledger opened violently. Pages flipped. Names faded. Names burned. Mine glowed. Beside it, the price was no longer blurred. It was almost complete. Only one word remained unfinished. A word I recognized, but did not yet understand. The seller leaned in. "When the bell rings 3 times," she whispered, "you will either take someone's place." She paused. "Or someone will take yours." The market went still. No footsteps. No whispers. Even the lantern flames froze. I felt every heartbeat, each one heavier than the last. The unfinished word beside my name began to write itself. Slowly, deliberately, the seller stepped back. So did everyone else. The bell rang. Once. The ground cracked. Twice. The gate appeared wider than before. And then, I saw who was standing on the other side. Someone who shared my face. My voice. My name. The bell rang a third time. He stepped forward when the third bell faded, and every sound returned at once. Lanterns hissed. Footsteps scraped. Breathing resumed. He looked exactly like me. Not a reflection. Not a shadow. But a version sharpened by certainty. "You're late," he said calmly. His voice was my voice. Without doubt. I asked him who he was. He smiled. "I am what you were offered," he replied. "And what you are still refusing to understand." The seller watched us silently. I demanded the truth. He gestured around the market. "This place does not steal," he said. "It preserves balance." I didn't believe him. He leaned closer. "When someone buys more time than they should, when a village trades years for rain, when a man refuses to die." He paused. "Someone else must be ready to stand in their place." The ledger slammed shut. My name echoed through the market. Twice. The seller spoke again. "You were marked at birth," she said. "Not chosen, prepared." I remembered my mother's stories. How I survived a sickness no child should have. How the elders watched me grow, quietly, closely. "Someone bargained for your future," the other me continued. "And when the debt matured, I was shaped." I asked him what happens now. He answered without hesitation. "One of us leaves," he said. "One of us stays." The market waited. Not impatient. Certain. I looked at the people frozen in their stalls. At my aunt who could never return. At buyers who had already forgotten what they had lost. I understood then. The market never forces a payment. It waits for agreement. "I will stay," I said. The words surprised even me. The other me frowned. "That is not how this ends," he replied. He reached out and placed something in my hand. A memory. Not mine. A woman crying in the dark. A bargain whispered to something unseen. My name spoken as payment. My mother. "I already lived the life you were promised," he said softly. "And now, I am done." The bell rang once. The ledger opened. Names rearranged themselves. The seller bowed. The other me stepped backward, through the gate, into the dawn. And I remained. The market did not disappear. It settled. Lanterns dimmed into embers. Stalls folded into shadow. I felt the change immediately. Time loosened. Breath slowed. I no longer felt hunger or age or fear. The seller approached. "You will guide," she said. "You will not rule." I asked if the market would ever end. She shook her head. "As long as people desire more than they are given," she replied. I watched new buyers arrive. Confused, hopeful, desperate. I understood their faces. I had worn them once. Sometimes, very late at night, I walk the road where it begins. I ring the bell, softly, not to summon, but to warn. Some people hear it. Some don't. I have learned the difference. Those who pause, who feel the air thicken, who sense the weight of choice, they can still turn back. And those who do, the market never remembers their names. But there is something I have never understood. Something that does not appear in the ledger. On certain nights, nights when I do not ring the bell, it still rings. Once, always once. No seller claims it. No buyer admits to hearing it first. And when I check the ledger afterward, there is always a new name written at the bottom. No price beside it. Just the name. Waiting. The market still appears at midnight. And it always will. Because someone, somewhere, is still calling it.